welcome to Fishing Gurus Volume 2 and a chapter that we're going to call Battle Royale. You see, we got two of the very best on two different venues over 2 days, battling it out to see who's got what it takes. Angler number one is probably the most feared commercial angler on the planet, almost certainly one of the most consistent big money festival finalists and current reigning and defending Fishermania champion. Angler number two is former Fishermania champion, former Park Dean Masters champion, former world champion and currently ranked #1 feeder angler on the planet. Yes, ladies and gents, if you haven't guessed it already, it is Andy the Bagger Bennett and Steve the Ringmaster Ringer. Chaps, welcome to Partridge Lakes and Holbar. Now, first leg of this epic battle, how are we feeling?
A bit nervous because it's Andy's backyard. He doesn't know the venue brilliantly, but he knows it better than me.
Pressure's already on then.
Well, yeah, we've got to get a good draw first though, so we'll see what happens.
Well, we've got two great anglers, we've got two good swims. There's only one way to find out who goes where, and that's the coin toss. Bosh, Andy?
Tails.
Oh, it's heads.
It's a tough one, but with the wind blowing into 16, I'd be an idiot not to take it. But it's Andy's venue, so I'm still the underdog.
Mate, that's got to hurt. Have you got anything to say to him before we get going?
Well done, Steve.
Steve?
Good luck. You're going to need it.
And you.
This one's going to be tight. Off you go, boys.
Cheers.
This is going to be a good one. Not only are you going to see two of the very best in the business go at it like the Bronze Bomber and the Gypsy King, but today we have a unique rewind system which allows you to get into the heads of the two anglers. Whether it be rigs, bait, or any decision that they make throughout that match, you guys will understand how and why they've done it. You physically cannot help but learn from this one, ladies and gents.
Taking on Steve Ringer, well, he's probably one of the best anglers in the country and he's not much he hasn't won, but I think every man's beatable, so we'll give it a good go.
Winning the toss, I think, for me was massive. I needed an advantage to beat him today, and I think I've got a real chance now. 16, it looks the better peg. It's got the wind blowing in, there's a few more fish moving. That's the peg I wanted, so I've got to be happy. I'm not saying I'm now the favourite, but I think things have just levelled up.
There's a possibility I could beat him, you know, if I can catch shallow on the waggler. And Steve can't fish it, for example. If that's the method today, it's a really warm day. I think if they feed and this sort of on the feeder line, it's going to be really hard to beat because he's got a bit of ripple. I think that's going to help his feeder fishing a little bit. But it depends how the fish want to feed. If it's a waggler day, I think the favour is with me.
So there's definitely a clear favourite peg, and Steve's in it. 16, he's definitely got more fish in it at the moment than 14. I see this match in almost two completely separate halves. Bagger's going to need to chop and change to try and buy bites from a few different lines. Steve, I feel like he's going to fish a little bit more of a one-dimensional, maybe two-dimensional match, but it's really interesting. Coming from a sporting background, I love to see the way people deal with the pressure before an event. And these boys, even though it's a friendly, and I'm not going to say you can cut the atmosphere with a knife because it is quite friendly, neither of them want to lose.
To beat Bennett would be massive, especially as it's in his backyard, so to speak. I know this isn't his venue, he'd rather took me to the covies or whatever, but it's his backyard, and I don't do this type of fishing that much anymore, so it'd be nice from my point of view, just to prove I've still got it.
Steve, if you think you're going to come to my back garden and smash me up, you better think again, pal.
Well, it's always very cool being in the presence of greatness, and I'm sure Andy and Steve appreciate me coming along. All kidding aside though, I am very much looking forward to this. Andy, are you ready, mate?
Yeah, mate.
Steve?
Ready?
All in. Can't be more than 5 minutes in and Steve's already had a bite. Looks like a decent fish. There's fish on the surface cruising around, there's fish blowing bubbles. There's a lot of activity. They've just got to work out how to get them bites and maximise their swim. fishing the far bank, there has been a couple of subtle differences. Bagger's gone out with the small X-Safe, but he has been double skinning it, so even though it's a small feeder, he's been putting quite a bit of bait in per chuck, but he hasn't been chucking quite as regularly as Steve, who's gone in with the large hybrid. He's been super aggressive, and the fish are there. They're definitely feeding. He hasn't picked up any bites since that first one, but Bagger's been feeding the line right from the start. And when that wind stops, you can see that it is clearly coming alive. It is like a jacuzzi down there, so I don't know how long he's going to take to get on it, but there's a few fish on it, that's for sure. As expected, both guys started on the feeder up to the far side. With all the disturbance on the bank, it was an absolute no-brainer. But Steve did things a little bit different, and his results were a little bit more positive. Let's head over to the rewind to find out.
I kicked the match off on the hybrid feeder tight across. It was only a short chuck, so 10-foot Aventus rod, 8-pound pulse on the reel, and then 28-gram large hybrid feeder. I like a big feeder when I'm targeting big fish. It's nice and positive, and I always sort of like to fish in a positive way. End tackle wise, 019 N-gauge, 4-inch, size 10 QM1. And I started on a hard 8mm pellet, but the bottom was a little bit choddy, a little bit weed, a little bit of grass, not very clean. So I switched to a wafter, an 8mm pellet wafter, and that's when I had my bites. On the feeder itself, I used a mix of micros. I used 2/3 Ringer's Method micros and 1/3 Dynamite F1 Sweet. The reason being, I like the Ringers for the soak-in. They're a really good size. They swell up nice and big, which I think is important when you're fishing a hybrid or a method feeder. But the F1 Sweet, just by adding them, it just gives them a little bit of flavour, a little bit of scent, and just makes them a little bit different to what they're used to seeing. And also something I did was, which I do quite a lot just to sort of speed up my thinking process, I put my feeder line and my shallow pole line. So my feeder line was directly behind the pole line. So what I noticed in the first half an hour on the feeder, several fish hit my line, and where they hit my line was where I was feeding shallow. So straight away, I'm thinking there's a few fish cruising around in the middle, up in the water, and that was a great indicator for me that it was time to come in and try and catch a few shallow.
Never a good time to come in and ask what's happening, but with 25 minutes in, you've been on 4 different methods. What's your thoughts?
Just a little bit warm. I just didn't feel like I was going to catch on that feeder. I never had any signs on it.
No.
So I had a quick look on the bomb, just see if I could get any indications. Didn't have any indications on that. Went on the bottom on my long pole. I can see an odd fish mooching, but just no signs on the bottom, no indications off skimmers or anything. I just feel like the only way I was going to catch that is either, already I'm thinking waggler and pole shallow.
Yeah.
Maybe a few short late. This ripple might help a bit now.
Do you think later on in the match though, they'll start settling?
Yeah, like once we settle onto the methods, you know, it's one of them things because you don't fish it regular.
Yeah.
Even though I come to this venue all the time, I don't fish this lake regular. That feeder didn't feel right. You know, I thought I'd get a few signs. Even if you weren't catching, you'd get a few indications. It just feels like a very warm, muggy day, like the fish want to just be swimming about.
Yeah.
I've seen an odd cruiser like this.
There you go.
So
at the moment, it's like a process of elimination for you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out what I don't feel like I'm going to catch on. I don't feel like I'm going to catch on the bottom long. But things change with the conditions. If it goes overcast now, feels a bit cooler, you know, you might get an odd bite on the bottom. There's a lot of fizzing going off, but I think the smaller fish.
Yeah. Oh well, it's fascinating watching the old cogs turn in the bonds, mate, that's for sure.
Just trying to get on the right method as quickly as possible, and then hopefully I can settle into something.
All right, mate, well, I'll get out of here and let you do it.
Cheers,
Good
Dean.
luck, son. Steve, bang on an hour, and you're pretty much 3-0 up on decent fish. What's your thoughts?
Basically, the weather's changed massive.
Yeah.
It's really hot, gone really high pressure. There's fish moving about, but they just don't don't want to feed.
No, there's no rhyme reading. Oh, there you go. That one does.
But only if I can think, if it was a shallow rig, slap it, feed virtually nothing, and just hope you're pulling an odd fish in.
Yeah.
But like I'm loose feeding 8 mils still into the gap, but there's no. When you chuck the hybrid over the top, you're not getting indications. The rushes are moving.
Yeah, they're deep in the rushes, but they're not coming out and feeding, are they?
No. And like, I've got a really nice line, 7 joints to my right, which is fizzing like a jacuzzi, but I can't get a bite there.
No, Bennett's got the same problem in his swim, but...
I'm confident I will catch there later on, but at the minute, I think, because of the way the weather's changed, it's just a case of persevering shallow, keep slapping an 8 mil hard, and hope that I just keep getting an odd bite.
Well, I mean, that was there for, what, 2 seconds?
That one was, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the second sort. I had a look on it after half an hour, and I had one bite where I missed it, and I could see a big bow wave.
Right.
But it's just a case of like being patient, because they're decent sized fish.
Yeah.
I don't know if this one's a lot bigger or...
The match, I think, will grow as they start to settle on your spots. I think the last couple of hours are going to be epic.
They are, in the 3 I've had a decent fish, but they're not, by this lake, from what I've been told about this lake standards, they're not big fish. So like, it's a lead, but it's a slender one.
Yeah. All right, mate, well, I'll leave you to it. Well done. Great start.
Cheers.
Well, it's fascinating watching both the guys work out what's happening. It's certainly not easy fishing. It's a little bit like a game of golf. They started off from the tee, they both went up to the far side on the feeders, but then they went in completely different directions to try and work out what's happening. We're just over an hour in and they are on the green, exactly the same conclusion that slapping up in the water at the moment seems to be the method. So, and say great minds think alike. These two kind of do.
Get ready, Ringer. I'm coming for you. Hey! I said I'm coming for you.
Keep coming.
Actually slow down, let me catch you up.
As it stands, I think that first hour where Steve went 3-0 up and Bagger couldn't answer to those first 3 carp, that could be the difference in the match. But right now, both boys are completely zoned in and it's quite literally carp ping pong on the pole. He has one, he has one, he has one, he has one. You get my point. Right now, this match may look a little bit one-dimensional. Both guys are fishing the pole at 14 metres up in the water. But one spraying a little bit more than the other, one slapping a little bit more than the other. One started off on 8mm pellet, one started off on 6mm pellet. And at this level, small changes can make a massive difference. So let's head over to the rewind and find out exactly what they're doing.
Tactically shallow fishing, I basically loose fed 6mm. The reason I fed 6mm was because I felt if I fed 4mm, there's a lot of silverfish in here like roach and stuff, and I felt at times I would get pestered by them a little bit. So I opted for a slightly bigger pellet in 6mm. I didn't want to go for 8mm because I felt like I wouldn't be able to feed enough bait to drag fish into my peg. So finding the right size pellet is really important. You want the noise factor, but you don't want to be feeding a lot of bait. The general rule of it was slapping a rig sort of anything from 12 to 20 inches deep, alternate your slapping, sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right, and then the other little thing which nicked me a few vital fish on the day was flicking my rig past. When you're slapping, you're obviously making disturbance. That little flick past makes a lot less disturbance and it doesn't spook the fish. So when you've only got 1 or 2 fish in your peg, just flicking it past your pole tip is a great way of nicking those odd extra fish.
My original idea of fishing shallow was basically slapping. I didn't think the fish would want to come to any amount of bait. So what I started on was a hard 8mm. The beauty of an 8mm is it makes a better noise when it's slapped in. So I was sort of slapping it in 3 times, letting it fish on that 3rd time. But what became apparent was they were coming to the 8mm and I caught I think 3 fish on it. But I was missing too many bites, and a couple of times I missed a bite and you see a big bow wave and you know you're 8 pound down. So I then switched to a 6mm. Mainly because I'm pretty good at keeping an eye on people. I looked to my left, I saw Andy was on a 6mm, switched to a 6mm and I had a great little run of 3 fish. So if I made a mistake, in hindsight, I think starting on an 8mm was wrong. Yes, it made a better noise and brought a few fish in, but the 6mm was miles better for hooking them.
Rig wise, I fished quite a durable rig, so I'll start with the elastic. I had black hydro elastic. I want a nice heavy elastic that is under control and I'm not going to get run about by the fish, because sometimes you look these fish shallow and they can bolt off really aggressively. Line wise, I had 0.19 end gauge from my main line, and then moving down to the hook length, I fished 0.17 hook length, so quite a heavy hook length for catching good stamp fish. I don't want to get broke on this. Them fish can bolt off, as I said, really quick, so you need something that's really strong and durable. Hook wise, same to match. I fished an 18's SMWG. It's quite a small hook, but it's very, very strong. And I just had a little hair rig on that to a band, and I fished a 6 or an 8mm pellet in the actual band itself. Shotting wise, I had all my shot underneath my float. So I had 3 number 8s, and the float itself was an MW cookie. What this is a little dibber, and it features a little wire stem, so it cocks really quickly and it gives you a really slow fall of the pellet. Them big carp like watching that bait fall nice and slow. So for me personally, I don't have any shot down my line. We're only fishing, as I said, 12 to 20 inches deep.
Rig wise, starting with a float, I used a Mick Wilkinson cookie, which takes, with the weight of a pellet as well, literally 3 number 11 shots, so not a lot of shot. Wire stem, which I like because it cocks quickly. Main line was 0.17 end gauge, and then I had a little 4-inch hook length, again of 0.17 end gauge, to a size 16 MWG hook. Shotting pattern, I did vary it a little bit, but I found it better to fish with a little bulk just above the 4-inch hook length. So I had a bulk of 3 number 11s, set the float sort of anything between 14 and 18 inches deep, and then kept slapping. There's 2 reasons I like the bulk. The first one is when you're slapping, it gives you 3 plops, so you get a plop off the float, a plop off the bulk, and then a plop off the hook pellet. So it's a little bit more noise, which I think attracts fish. And also I found sometimes if you're missing bites when fishing shallow, that little bulk just makes the rig a little bit more positive. You get a lot more fish hook themselves. Elastic wise, I fished black hydro. I'd like to have fished white, but again, not knowing the venue, I went with black on the basis of the fish size.
Well, this is turning into an absolute ding-dong of a battle. Something that we'd hoped it would be, but for the first 90 minutes you couldn't see past Steve Ringer. But in the last hour, Andy Bennett has got him up in the water on the pole, something that he's absolutely mustered at, and he's put himself right back in this race. I would say Steve is still in the lead on size of fish, but if I was him, it'd be squeaky bum time. And since then, since Andy's put a few in the net, he has definitely started looking over a lot more. And I'd have to say he's more reactive now, so 2 horses in this race, ladies and gents. It ain't over yet. Well, Bennett, talk to me, my friend, because last time you said you was working your way into it, and now it looks like, from sitting behind the swim, you're only getting signs on one line.
Yeah, I think like it's a really warm day today, so we've both sort of settled on long pole shallow. Tried that waggler, but the only thing I'm getting bites on is this. I've not had a bite short. I don't feel like I'm going to get a bite on the bottom or on the feeder.
No.
So it's a case of persevering with this, you know, and you're just getting an odd fish out of the blue, but every time I come off it I seem to get a bite, so I'm doing other stuff just to rest this, but almost half knowing I'm not going to get a bite.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the method that took you to Fishermania Glory, right?
Yeah, long pole, shallow for carp like this. It's just about being busy, slapping your rig over, keep a little bit of bait going in, not too much. When the wind drops I can flick my rig past, and
Yeah.
when it's like this I've almost got to slap it. I can't flick it past, but sometimes you can spook an odd un. I've probably missed 5 or 6 chances of catching fish, you know, and a day like today, it's massive when it's so tight, so.
Yeah, and are you, for the rest of the match, are you fully committed to this line now?
No, I'm still throwing a few pellets short there because they could turn up there at any time, but I don't think I'm going to catch there if I'm honest.
Right.
But I won't give up on it. I've given up on that far bank. I don't think I'm going to catch doing that. So I need to spend my time now on my best lines. You know, it's so tight now, I think you need to be right on the ball sort of thing.
There's 2 horses in this now, mate. And the first 90 minutes, it was a bit of a one-trick pony, really, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
Steve was the one that was on the fish and he was getting the bites, but you had an hour where it was absolutely mustard to sit there and watch you, mate. So, and I do believe, to be fair, the last hour is going to get better potentially as well.
Yeah, hopefully, mate.
All right, mate. Well, keep banging them out, bagger.
Cheers, Dave.
Steve. I've got to say, it's a little bit closer than I thought it was going to be.
It's been a different match. I expected feeder, waggler, bomb and all that sort of thing to dominate.
Yeah.
And basically I think because of the weather, everything's been shallow.
Yeah, I mean, the last time you went out on the feeder though, you did get signs, which is something that you didn't get in the first hour, even though you nicked a few.
I had one fish and a couple of signs, but I felt the signs were coming from fish that were swimming between, like where my feeder is.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like there's loads of fish grubbing around over there.
Right.
The real disappointment's been like my sort of 7 joint line. I fed hard 8 mils there, just into that sort of bowl.
Right.
Really nice water, and I've just not even had a bite there, but it's just like nothing wants to feed on the bottom.
Yeah, see, I'm looking at them rushes. Them rushes are still twinging and twanging. There's fish in there, aren't there? But
Yeah, I'm not sure they're all carp though, the little knocks and thing, but there is fish over there, but it's just not as many as I expected. My worry is now that Andy seems to be getting a few bites, and mine just, for whatever reason, seems to have died a little bit.
So how long would you leave it on this pole line before you go back on the feeder or down the edge?
My problem is, I feel like if I'm going to get another run, it's going to be on the pole shallow.
Right.
But equally, and like, it's hard because I've got Andy catching a few on it.
Breathing down your neck.
I feel like it needed a rest. Andy rested his, and he's had another little good run. But I rested mine, and it hasn't really done anything. But I'm going to give this another fight.
There you go. Right, I'll get out of your way. Buddy, last 30 minutes, if you've got a trick up your sleeve, now is the time to pull it out. What's happening?
Well, the conditions have just changed, it's gone a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
I've just tried on the bottom and I've just had my first bite. Other than shallow, it's the only place I've caught another fish.
Still on that line though, isn't it? You've had no signs anywhere else?
No, and I'm just hoping that a few fish have gone down now and trying to feed. There's not as many cruising about. It's quite tight, so I'm just trying to nick an odd fish, and I've gone in and caught one, so...
It's erupting there, mate. How aware are you about how Steve's done?
I know it's close, I know there's literally one fish in it, so it's just a case of me plodding on, or, you know, if he gets a little run, anything can happen here now, last half an hour, so it's just being on the right line, like I said before it was hot and sunny, fish wanted to be up, they were cruising about, and I'm hoping now that a few are going to start going down and have a little feed.
Are you going to commit the last half hour on the bottom then?
Unless I start getting signs, if I get liners on my float, I'll come back up, but I'm not getting many signs to say there's many fish shallow, so I'm just going to keep pinging a few pellets. I've got a bigger pellet on the hook now, an 8mm. See, just had a little sign, then you see the float just wobble.
Absolutely.
Could have been a little roach, but little things like that, and I'll go back shallow if need be.
Just reading the swim still?
Yeah, just firing some pellets in, and then my float is my indicator. That's going to tell me what's happening, so if I see any swirls or anything like that, I won't hesitate to come back up, but it's a little indication then.
Yeah, well mate, 2 fish, and you are well in the game. Good luck, buddy.
Cheers, Dean.
Steve, last chance to leave, my friend. I've got to say, I have you up in my mind, but I haven't done any numbers. It's just on average size of fish. How are you seeing it?
Too close to call, to be honest. I was definitely ahead an hour ago. The last hour and a half's been pretty dreadful for me.
Yeah.
Not saying it's been brilliant for Andy, but he's just nicked odd fish.
Yeah, you're still chopping and changing though. You went down the edge for 5 minutes, you still tried that line out in open water.
Yeah, because every fish is, the fish are good size,
Yeah.
and every fish is like so important. So like you can, if I could just see one down the edge, or I can't believe I've not caught one on that line there.
Yeah.
Just like one more, I think like one fish either way is probably all there is in it now.
Absolutely, yeah. One decent fish for each of you pretty much puts a nail in your coffin.
It's just hard to see at the minute. I can't quite see where it's coming from.
There's some swells over your shoulder, mate.
That's what I want. I want to see a couple of big tails down
Absolutely. Well, look, I'll leave you to it, buddy. If you've got a trick up your sleeve, as I said to Bennett, now's the time to put it out.
there. Yeah.
Good lad. Good luck.
Cheers, Dean.
Well, we're 10 minutes to go, and I genuinely can't call it. I think one more fish for bagger, and he's well in it. One more fish for ringer, and he's possibly sealed the deal. But earlier on, I said you can't cut the atmosphere with a knife. Right now, it is very, very serious, and a little bit frosty. Well, it always seems a little bit corny when you say it's been a roller coaster of emotions, but it's genuinely been back and forth. No one can call this. Both guys did exceptionally well, but I'm afraid that is time. Boys, all out. Well done, chaps. Off to the scales.
It's been a really tense match. I've been keeping tabs on Steve all day, just so I knew where I was up to. After an hour, he was 6-1 up on me, and to be honest, I thought that was it. But I've managed a good little run, and I've been within a fish or two of him most of the day. He pulled away 2 hours to go, and then I'm hoping I've clawed it back near the end. If I haven't beat him, I'm hoping it's within one fish, but who's won, I honestly don't know. You can't call it.
For me, the match has sort of been if you excuse the pun, a match of two halves. I had a really good start, an okay middle, but the last 2 hours I think have cost me. I think it's too close to call, as in I can't say either way, but if someone said I've got to say, I think he's done me by £8 to £10, that's how close, which is like one fish on here. But it could go the other way, but if someone said to me, push comes to shove, who's won, I think he's just edged me.
Well, ladies and gents, I've witnessed head-to-heads over many years of filming Fishing Gurus for Sky, and let me tell you, there's been some absolute ding-dongs, but today was by far my favourite. These two guys were absolutely class. Andy, at the start of the day, you gave me a prediction as to what weight you feel like would win it. Do you remember?
80 to 120-ish.
Right, okay. Steve, how do you think it went?
I think it's ridiculously close, and it hasn't gone my way.
Well, look, I mean, Babs wrote the results down and I don't even need them, all right? I will give them to you now, and it's as tight as it can be. Andy, you weighed in a very respectable, bearing in mind you was in the swim that neither of you fancied at the start, 128 pound, 7 ounces. Awesome. Steve, from the flyer, you weighed in 128 pound, 14 ounces. That is literally,
Right, mate.
you can't separate you. Honestly guys, really well done. That, ladies and gents though, is only leg one. Surely leg two cannot be anywhere near as close. But there is only one way to find out. Chaps, on to makings.
The result, I'm a bit gutted about it, I must admit. I thought I'd beat him. I've counted the carp all day, I've had 19, he's had 18, but he's had 8 pound of sneaky silverfish, so probably worth a bit more than a carp, and he's ended up beating me by 7 ounce, so hats off to him. Even when I thought I had him, he's still found a way to win, so yeah, fair play to him.
To be honest, I'm over the moon to win. I didn't expect to beat Andy. He's an absolute class act, especially on here. I know Holbar's not his favourite lake at Partridge, but it's still his sort of backyard. So to beat him even by 7 ounces is I'm absolutely made up.
I feel like I've fished a decent match in terms of my long line where I've caught my fish, but I've made a massive error in not having some softer baits like maggots, casters, soft pellets even, because I know I could have caught 20–30 pound of silverfish. So little things like that, you know, they're bad decisions, and it's something that I'll remember for next time.
Late on, I did notice that Andy made a switch to fishing on the deck over his sort of shallow line, and he got one, and then he lost 2, which I presume were foul hooked. And I have to admit, I was willing him off. I think he'd have been doing the same. And when I saw the elastic ping back, there was a little bit of a fist clench, and it's like I'm back in this, because I knew it was that close.
He's been lucky today, do you know what I mean? I've had more fish than him and he's still managed to beat me. Like, what's that all about? I'm not having it. We'll see at makings what happens. He's got lucky and that's it today.